وسلم على رسول الله وبعد. So the next hadith, we're on the chapter of Ramadan. Next hadith is 1916. And it is عن عدي بن حاتم رضي الله عنه قال. So Adi ibn Hatim, he said, لما نزلت حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود عمدت إلى عقال أسود وإلى عقال أبيض. So Adi ibn Hatim, he says, when this verse in the Quran about fasting was revealed, and the verse is حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض, it's talking about you can keep eating until, like when you're starting your fast in the morning, you keep on eating until the white thread becomes clearly distinct from the black thread. So there's a verse in the Quran. So Adi ibn Hatim, he said, when I learned about that verse, what I did was I had two ropes with me. One rope was black and one rope was white. فَجَعَلْتُهُمَا تَحْتَ وِسَادَتِي. So I used to keep both of these ropes under my pillow. فَجَعَلْتُ أَنظُرُ فِي اللَّيْلِ. So I used to wake up like near the time when it's almost going to be dawn, and at nighttime I would look. فَلَا يَسْتَبِينُ لِي فَغَدَوْتُ. So I would look and I would see, you know what? Can I see the white rope clearly from the black rope or not? So he would look out his window. Is there enough light so I can tell the difference between the two ropes? He says, no, until I could see clearly that the white one is clear from the black one because of the lightness spreading outside, I would wait until that happens and I would keep eating for my fast. فَغَدَوْتُ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. So I went to the Messenger of Allah. فَذَكَرْتُ لَهُ ذَلِكَ. And I asked him about that. I said, I'm checking these ropes and everything, and it's a very difficult method that Allah has told us in the Quran. We got to keep on checking these ropes. And Messenger of Allah said, فَقَالْ إِنَّمَا ذَلِكَ سَوَادُ اللَّيْلِ وَبَيَاضُ النَّهَارِ. He says, Adi, that is referring to the darkness of the night, and it's referring to the whiteness of the daytime. So Adi misunderstood this completely. The verse, it says, you can keep eating, don't start your fast until the white thread becomes clear from the black thread. But it wasn't talking about an actual thread or an actual rope or an actual string. It was talking about the white thread of light that you see in the sky when it's dawn time, especially if you lived outside in the desert. So we learned two things from this. The first thing we learned is that even though Adi ibn Hatim, he's an Arab, he knows Arabic better than anybody else in the world, Arabic today probably. I mean, he lived at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He was a head of his clan. He was not like somebody who didn't know the Arabic language. But even somebody who knows the Arabic language, they can potentially make a misunderstanding in interpreting the Quran wrongly. And that's why you go and you check with other people, especially at that time with the Prophet ﷺ. So it's important for us to have a correct understanding of the verses and understand what the correct context is. That's number one. Number two, we learn that when we're fasting, which is going to be starting next week, inshallah, next Wednesday we're going to be fasting, inshallah, you can eat until the white thread appears distinct from the black thread. Now, when you go outside, you're probably not going to be able to see that. All right? If you were only listening to half of what I said and you were zoned out, do not do the rope thing under your pillow, okay? Because I know some people, they tell me all the time, I give a lecture, and they say, yeah, I heard that part, you told me I'm supposed to eat this. And I said, no, you're not supposed to eat that. So, well, that's the only part that I heard, because I zoned out. So if you zoned out, you do not need any threads or any ropes or anything. That's a wrong understanding. But you look in the sky and you see, is there light? Has dawn come in or not? Now, if you go outside and you look yourself, you're not going to find it, because we live in a city where there's something called light pollution. So many lights around us, and we have obstructions, we have mountains and everything. So you're not going to wait until you start seeing some light, because we're hidden behind mountains and light pollution. You're gonna be eating for another half an hour, maybe 1 hour extra until you start seeing that light. That's not the time. But if you were in the desert, you would look outside. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look at your calendar and you look at when does the fast start according to 15-degree calculation of Fajr. ICOI is distributing their Ramadan timetables about when fast begins. And one of the most common questions that I get all the time is, can we eat all the way up until the time of Fajr, or do we have to stop like 10 minutes before? Because some masjids, probably some people remember, some masjids they give out a calendar and they have two times, they have two columns. One says imsak, and you stop eating, and the other one says the time of Fajr has begun, and there's a 5-minute gap, or a 10-minute gap, or a 15-minute gap in between. And so that's a recommendation. It's a recommendation so that you don't just keep eating, but it's not an absolute requirement. So what we've done, ICOI, at least I think last year we did, I think it's the same thing. There's a footnote that says it's recommended to stop a few minutes before, but there's no separate column. So you can keep on eating. The second question I get all the time is, if we're already eating and the time for Fajr comes in, I still got like a few bites left. Is it okay if I just take a few more bites? And the answer is no, you can't just take a few more bites because the fast has begun. So yeah, but there's an authentic hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari that says the Sahaba, they kept on eating after the adhan. And yes, there is an authentic hadith like that, but in the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, there were two adhans. One adhan was to wake people up who are not already awake. Second adhan is to tell you to stop eating. So when they were eating after the adhan, it was referring to the first adhan. If you keep eating after the second adhan, which is the adhan for stop eating, and you say, I'm going to keep eating because I'm allowed, because there's a hadith there, this is not what the hadith is saying. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand this and apply it correctly. Ameen wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.